So there's an incredibly popular test on RDR Labs, idrlabs.com, and it is the White Fragility Test. And since I do appear to be white, I decided that I would take this test and figure out how white I really am and how subject I am to white privilege. All right, let's start. So, first off, let's read along with me here. In the summer of 2020, the American lecturer Robin DiAngelo's book, White Fragility, became the #1 best-selling book on Amazon, ahead of even The Hunger Games. That is a very odd thing to make the #1 book on Amazon, and I would not buy that if I saw it. It's a powerful roadmap for fighting racism, and criticized as a catch-22 that makes it impossible for people to disagree with her claims. Impossible to disagree with her claims, I really doubt that. I just think that it's probably phrased in such a way that it's like a really hard trap to get yourself out of, and you sound like a moron if you try to. All right. So first off, first question. The very concept of whiteness is built on being anti-black. Let's talk about this for a second, all right? So the very concept of whiteness is built upon being black. That makes anti-black. That makes no sense, because the concept of whiteness was pretty much created by the fact that we have found multiple different types of skin colors in people, and the term whiteness seems to be slander based upon that. I bet you the term whiteness was not at all created until racism became a talking point. So that is very, very false. Racism was constructed and created by white people. No, it was not. It was actually created ages and ages ago, probably by the Egyptians. There are no guarantees for this claim, and there are not that many pieces of evidence surrounding it, but there are lots of pieces of evidence surrounding the fact they enslaved people, and that there were lots of people that were not Egyptian that were enslaved in Egypt. And similar things also happened in Greece, and pretty much every single society out there. They saw a difference. They weren't comfortable with it. They just didn't have the societal structures to fight that or combat that properly and accept them as equals. So no, that was not created by white people. Black people are impressed in America. Not anymore, though there are still double standards, so I'm going to do a kind of a middle disagree. White people use norms about individualism and meritocracy to implicitly blame people of color for the lack of prosperity in America. I don't think that this is an issue. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not that hard to make it in America. All you need to give something to offer to the employers. There is equal opportunity already. Equality has already been legally achieved in every single scenario, but they want equity. I think that they do use norms, but everybody does. So that's a mid-agree. Actually, I'll put that at neutral. But that is the main issue, is they don't push themselves enough. They don't have enough drive, enough ambition. So therefore, they will not succeed. That's just how it works. They will not succeed if they, just have no drive. You need a drive in a democratic state. You do, or you won't make it anywhere. All right, living in a white neighborhood reinforces the notion that there is no value in knowing people of color. That is entirely false. I don't even know why the term white neighborhood even came. Black people can live in a quote-unquote white neighborhood. It just got that term because, well, it used to be seriously owned predominantly by white people. Easy. Racism is so deeply woven into our society that no. Claiming that one doesn't see race is itself a form. No. Respect for one's basic rights is a privilege that is only afforded to white people. No, not at all. White people won't listen to those who are less privileged themselves. No, I I think that a lot of my friends and myself, we all try to keep to a pretty open mind about this type of thing. Um, I believe that people who are less privileged in the incredibly woke manner that they are speaking through, really, they're just trying to target that as black people. It is very clear that that is what they mean when they say those who are less privileged than themselves. I listen to everyone because that's what you should do. If you're going to be living in a country that's built upon democracy and freedom of speech, then the least you could do is listen. But neither side does that typically, so it's not an issue with white people, it's an issue with people in general and the politics in this country. So disagree. People who oppose sensitivity and diversity training are complicit in perpetrating oppression. No, because sensitivity and diversity training are complete and utter bullcrap. You have to deal with that in the high school. Basically, what they mean by sensitivity and diversity training is critical race theory, and the idea. Got to do that. All right. Anyways, but it's basically where they're making white people quote unquote aware of the fact that they have white privilege and that the black people have, you know, an immediate disadvantage due to being black, and that is a ridiculous concept, both in practice and in concept. So, heavy disagree on that one. Western media continually pumps out images of white supremacy and white superiority. No, what they mean by this is there isn't as much representation in the media for black people as there is with white, and that is true because there will always be more representation of a majority because it's more profitable. Not in this new idea. No, now all the minorities are being blown up because they're complaining and crap, and it gives the company more profit because they get supported for being a quote unquote minority supporting company. There cannot be such a thing as a non harmful white identity. That is so false on so many levels. Moving on. To be perceived as an individual, the privilege that is only afforded to ultimate responsibility for ending racism is with white people. No, don't talk about it. If you want to end racism, don't talk about it. And we aren't talking about it nearly as much as the black people are. Well, now a lot of us are, especially the leftists, because they view it as being a social justice warrior and they like the idea of doing something right, even if it really isn't doing something right. So that's the state of our country right now, however screwed up it may be. White progressives who do not see their own complicity in racism cause more damage. No. Moving on. All right. Schools are complicit in oppression. Children in places in life. They do not. This is a ridiculous theory. It's like people, now liberals in mostly the leftists, right? They now are beginning to speak about how tests are suddenly racist and unequal for black students because the test scores are not as easily achievable for them. And I'm just like, that is ridiculous and an incredibly racist statement to state that black people are being oppressed by putting tests into a fair argument, a fair situation, is a completely stupid and fraudulent claim. No, no. It's impossible to be racist against white people. That is so false. White people should strive to see things less from their point of view. No. Your point of view matters. It always matters. White people have a deeply sense of superiority and entitlement they don't see. No. Not at all true. My browser seemed to have. Well, okay, here we go. White people who are not actively speaking out against the current state of race relations are complicit in white supremacy. Wrong. All right. Your agreement with white fragility is very low. I expected this. I went into this expecting this because it is a very stupid concept. It really just ticks me off. It makes no sense to me because it's the idea that white people, right? They inherently are horrible racist people because they are white. Isn't that a racist statement? It is a racist statement spread by the left to talk about racism. It is so stupid. I'm sick of this shit, all right? I'm done. You should be done too. Don't support this garbage, all right? Get this propaganda out of here. Stop teaching this in schools. Allow the parents to introduce the ideas of races to their children themselves. Just don't talk about race, and all of a sudden, it won't be a consideration. It's just how it works. It's all a cultural thing. It's a cultural phenomenon. That's exactly why it has been an issue for so long, is because a phenomenon. Back when they had slaves and whatever, it was culturally acceptable to have slaves. It just was. And now that it's no longer culturally acceptable, a child will not see a black person and immediately think, oh, they should be a slave. So you shouldn't talk about critical race theory inside the classroom. It's a simple cause and effect idea. It's a cause and effect mentality. It's causation versus correlation. You cannot just say that all of a sudden because you're white, you're a racist or you're causing issues with the people of color or other minorities in America. That is not how it is, because all of a sudden you're using the group identity of both different groups, and you're acting like that group identity perfectly represents every single individual inside that group, and that's also what you're quote unquote fighting against. It's so full of contradictions. It's completely and utterly ridiculous. And it's lost all the respect for me. Stay humble, stay right, conservatively as well. Just don't go to the left. Catch you in the next one. This is ridiculous.